it's a Hellraiser movie. Who's playing Pinhead? It's not Doug Bradley. It's gonna suck. Blah 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 blah. All this stuff. I'm like, oh boy. But all I could really do is go in there and do my work. You know, I worked really hard to be ready to do the movie. So it was a secret until the day before I started filming. And then it was no longer a secret. And I was kind of weirdly famous. Wow. Yeah. But nobody had seen any of my work. So a lot of the haters were having a great time.
Well, it's interesting you say that because Doug Bradley's rendition of Hellraiser is so iconic. I mean, it's just, and we talked about it earlier, a lot of filmmakers where they make the mistake is they try to get other actors to copy the original actor, which is not a good idea. You always want to when someone new comes in, to have them put their own spin on it, which, I mean, if any of you guys have watched Hellraiser Judgment, he does Paul T. Taylor does a great job. A great job of it.
Anyone? You did. Anyone else?
He does a great job of it. It's very sinister.
I am selling the Blu-rays and DVDs very much. Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about what went into the mindset once you knew you had the role. What went into your thought process in trying to recreate this such iconic horror character?
Well, the first thing was I knew I had to do a British accent. I was going to at least do that. Had to at least honor what had come before me. And the director, Gary Tunnicliffe, and I agreed that a British accent was de rigueur. And so that was already going to happen. I started watching, I had not seen all the Hellraiser movies because I'd seen 1, 2, 3, and 4. Well, there were 8 of them. No, there were 9 of them at this point. So I was like, I need to watch all the work that Doug Bradley's ever done. And then I watched Revelations. And so I did that for a little while. And then I talked to Gary and we agreed that it was best that I now just concentrate on the script and to create and be ready to play Pinhead in this particular point in Pinhead's life, if you will, or existence, because it is a different Pinhead. So then I just started, like any actor who has a script, you concentrate on the words. It's like David Mamet says, there's no character, there's just words on a page. And to a certain extent, that is true. It's like you read the words, how does it affect you as an actor? What do you need to work on to be believable as that character? It's really being a good liar is very valuable to an actor. So, because you're basically lying and saying, I'm this person when you're not. I mean, that's really simplistic, but in essence, that's what it is. So, my work was to be unscathed, that's not the right word, but to be someone who had no fear whatsoever because he was impenetrable. You could not harm him. He was a god in a way, and I'm nothing like that in real life. And I would take these...
So unabashed?
Unabashed,
yeah.
Yes. I'd put myself in dangerous... I lived in a really bad neighborhood and in South Dallas, and I would never take a walk alone at night.
This was growing up, or is this?
This was like while I was working on the movie. So I would get on my big old combat boots, and I'd dress all in black, and I was smoking cigarettes, and I was like a tough guy. And I would take these walks late at night. Like I'd go walk to the 7-Eleven where people had been murdered or wherever, and buy cigarettes, because I was just I was doing a mind trip on myself. And whether it was even necessary to do this or not, I can't tell you. I mean, actors, we all have our own things, and some of it is just self-indulgence, and some of it actually does help us, but we're all just crazy people, just doing whatever we think it takes to get there. So that's what I was working on, was trying to be in a place where I had no fear. Which is ironic, because when you're on a film set, you have no fear. You're like, just doing your job. And you look like, and I knew they were gonna make me look like Pinhead. So I think, in a way, I was doing it because it was fun. It was fun to do that kind of preparation because I knew that it was going to be so cool when I was not actually on the set. I'm like, I'm Pinhead now. You can't hurt me. And it made me brave, I was walking in this neighborhood. I was putting myself in harm's way, but I wasn't afraid. And it was good for me, because we all have fear in our lives. And to live without fear, I mean, that's a huge plus, to I mean, you have to have caution in your life, but to live without fear is really a goal of mine.
It's funny you say that. Fear can be a very powerful motivator.
Yeah.
If used correctly. Fear should not intimidate you. It should give you something to conquer. Because once you conquer your fears, you have a very, it makes you feel great.
Absolutely.
So would you say that when you were transformed into Pinhead, was it a full psychological transformation, or was there still like a connection of who you were normally? Like how would you explain that?
There was still a connection to when I was a kid at Halloween. When I was growing up, Halloween was my favorite holiday. It always will be. Every Halloween, I just wanted to be scary and grotesque and unrecognizable. And this was and I wanted to be a film actor. So this was like the ultimate dream come true role for me. So I could never really actually be Pinhead. I mean, for an actor to actually become another character is insanity, because you can't actually become another person unless you're insane. It's all pretend. You can fool yourself. I mean, it's weird. I know talking about it, I feel very pretentious, but to try to analyze it is, all actors have different approaches, I just have my own concept of there's method acting, there's not method acting, there's, what happened to Heath Ledger, that was insanity. It's just like, you can be so good in a role that you die, and that's not good. So I think the whole time I was just so happy that I was playing Pinhead that I could never really escape that joy. To play a badass like that and just have this great dialogue and be the smartest one in the room, it was good for my ego too. It was just so much fun.
So explain to us, as the movie's being shot, how your comfortability with the beginning versus the end of the movie. How did it feel for you, obviously trying to portray this character, and then at the end, how did it feel? Did you feel relieved? Did you feel anxious to do another one? What was that feeling like?
Wow, well, the first day, they made me look like Pinhead, makeup, costume, got ready. We're filming in this really dusty warehouse downtown Oklahoma, and the makeup trailer is across the sidewalk on the street parked, and so it's time to go. Okay, we're gonna go shoot my scene. And the scene that's actually at the beginning of the movie, yeah. And they open the double doors to go into the warehouse, and several crew members are standing around. And I walk through, and I hear several people say, "Oh my God!" And I was like, "Oh, okay. Now I'm Pinhead." It was just it was instant, because it was like, oh, people are in awe of me. It was this ego thing that I loved it. It was a delicious feeling. I can see how it could be addictive, rock stars and all that, and just like, I am a god, and the character's already written. He's extremely arrogant, at least in judgment he is. And so then we shot our first scene. It was a scene with the auditor. I had very little to do in that scene. It was the scene where he comes to see me in my office, or if you will, where I have the throne that I'm sitting on, and I'm like twirling a pin in my head. And he tells me about someone who's escaped, and I'm like, what, was he innocent, and all this stuff. Anyway, I digress. So that was day one. Then we shot another day. The last day of filming was also... No. The first day was also the day that we shot the homeless scene. Spoiler, homeless scene at the end of the movie. And that's the first thing we shot, because they wanted to get that out of the way, because I'm not in Pinhead makeup. And I said to scream no constantly, and I almost lost my voice on day one. It was really like, can we stop filming this now? Because I just keep screaming no. The first time I read the script, I finished reading it, and it wasn't until after I got the part that I got the script and I read it, and I texted the casting director, and I said, oh no, they killed Pinhead. It was just like South Park. It was like they were killing off Pinhead. And he's like, no, I don't see it that way. I think they're setting up a thing, blah, 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 which is, it turns out, I think they were setting up a sequel. But, so then we shot that other thing on day one, and it was all very, like, I was glad the homeless thing was over, actually, because it was hard. Just kept doing it over and over again. But by day 3, when we finally got to shoot the big 20-minute scene that's the big showdown with Joe Field, the angel, I was just in the zone. I was just in the zone. That sounds so corny. I was in my element. I was like really into the groove of it. So when it was over and it was a wrap on Paul Taylor, I was so sad because it was over, you know? And it wasn't until 2 years later that they released the movie. It was like, but look where I am now.
Exactly, right? So, were you always a fan? Obviously, you said you loved Halloween. Were you always a fan of the horror genre in general, like in terms of like the old Mummy and Wolfman, or any of the modern stuff like Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th?
I don't think I ever watched the old Universal monster movies until I was older. And as a kid growing up in Hutchinson, Kansas, I was a sensitive kid, and I think they knew that I would scare easily, and that they didn't want me to watch horror movies. Like, I didn't get to go see The Omen with the family, and I would have crapped my pants. I know I would have. I would have been so scared. But I remember so I didn't really know much, you know? I think my grade school showed The Abominable Dr. Phibes and The Raven and some of those old like Vincent Price stuff, which is pure camp, you know? It's not gory, it's not really that scary, except maybe to a child. It wasn't until I couldn't go see The Exorcist when it came out in theaters. I'm older than I look, so I was not really exposed to horror. I would say probably the first. I don't count The Abominable Dr. Phibes as a horror movie because I think it's just too much of a comedy for me. And but when I was a child, it was Saturday night at the movies, and they were showing Trilogy of Terror, you know, the Karen Black movie, that it's 3 short stories, and the third one is about the little Zuni fetish doll with a knife that comes to life and stalks Karen Black around her apartment. That scared me so bad. And but there was this fear that felt so good to me that I think that's when I was like, I like horror movies. I want to watch some more. So I was always attracted to the horror, and but when it comes to like Halloween stuff, I mentioned that being my favorite holiday. I don't like bloody Halloween. I like it's for children Halloween. I like trick-or-treating, that part of it. I like
the playfulness.
The playfulness of it. Like, are you a vampire? Are you a witch? Are you a ballerina? Are you a zombie? Are you you know? And I don't care about the sexy Halloween. I'm like, that's not Halloween, but that's just me. Unless you're a sexy zombie, and in which case, that's okay.
Yes.
But, and I'm not really into gore either, which is ironic, since I was in a Hellraiser movie. But I don't even know if I answered your question. I had a Monster Zero a while ago, and I'm just kind of...
That's it. He's a little
out of my mind.
High on caffeine.
I think I'm just insane right now.
Hey, that's part of acting, though, isn't it? The more insane you are, the better the role, right?
I think so. I hope so.
So what are some projects that you're working on currently?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Do you guys want to see pictures from my phone? Because I'll show them to you. Sure. I just did a movie that I'm so excited about. It's called Loving Giving Soul. And I told the director she needs to change the title to Happy to Help. It's really creepy if you know the whole story. But I get to play this guy named Adele. He has an unidentifiable foreign accent. And he was based on a real person who the person who wrote the movie and directed the movie knew in her apartment complex. He wanted to help her. She wasn't asking for help, but he pursued her. Like, I want to help. You have problems. I need to help you. Where's your partner? Why isn't he here? You don't know where he is. La la la. You have problems. He gaslighted her big time, and it was just a really well written role. And I'm really excited about it because I did theater for so many years, and I don't think theater made me a good film actor. I think film acting made me a good film actor. There was a time when I didn't think I was a good film actor. I would see myself, and because I'd done theater for so many years, it was just not quite. It was theatrical, and it was big, and it was like, you're acting. But now, I think I've finally, in the last year and a half, I've done 2 movies where I thought that I was watching my footage, and I'm like, I'm actually a good film actor now. And that's not ego, it's just like me seeing me not act in a way, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about it, and I don't know when it's going to come out. I don't know when they're going to finish it. It's a low-budget indie film, and I work cheap.
What kind of genre is this film?
It's a drama. It's very personal as I said, to the person who wrote it. What is it besides a drama? I don't.
Does it have some thriller in it? Maybe.
Maybe it's It's hard to describe.
Is there any suspense? Is there any suspense?
I think there's definitely suspense. There's definitely fear in it. It's about real human, problems. It's about someone who doesn't have any money and just trying to make ends meet, living in an apartment complex she can't afford. It's about life, we know, and it's about a guy a gaslighter. We all deal with gaslighters. The premise of the movie, though, it's in her narration. She says, "Why is it that we are so afraid of insulting other people's egos that we hide our own power under a bushel?" That's not how she said it, and that probably wasn't said very well, but we do that, though. Many of us. We just let other people control us.
So you would say that she was allowing her integrity to be compromised for the comfort of others?
For the comfort of others. And so many of us do that.
Yeah.
And it's such a valid, that's what the movie's about, and it's really valid. But then at one point, she's like hallucinating that the refrigerator is coming after her and is going to eat her. Now, that's a different movie. That's not her movie. Right. You know what that movie is, right? That's so good. I can't watch it. I can't even remember the name of it right now. Someone here knows the name of that movie. Anyway, Louise Fletcher is in it. See, it's Monster Zero. I really am a little bit insane right now. What was I talking about?
What genre is the movie that you're just describing?
Oh, I know. She also. Well, this is not the genre. I'm trying to describe the genre. It's hard. It's a drama about real people, but at the same time, she's hallucinating that there's someone living in her walls, and because there are crawl spaces, in apartments and stuff, and she actually later discovers that, maybe there was someone living in her walls, and in Adele's last scene, it's
would you say it's like a psychological drama?
Yeah. And one of Adele's last lines is, you can't have secrets here. The walls are paper thin. Well, I'll check on you later. Happy to help. It's super creepy.
Is it one of those, would you say it's like got that Donnie Darko type weird, I'm
yes.
not afraid of this movie.
I'm glad you said that.
But it's creeping me out.
I love Donnie Darko.
So it's not a horror, it's like a creepy movie.
It's a creepy movie.
There we go, because Donnie Darko was like, people try to categorize him like, you really can't, dude. It's like a creepy drama with some suspense and thriller.
With Jake Gyllenhaal, which always makes a movie good.
Yeah. I mean, that's the poster movie. Patrick Swayze's in it as the weird, was it teacher? Preacher, something like that?
I don't remember.
So, yeah.
I can tell you that I have a Donnie Darko that's a toy that's still in the box. It's about this tall. And it talks. So... But, it's probably worth a lot of money.
So what are some of the what are some fun movies other than Hellraiser that you've worked on that you really enjoyed personally?
I enjoyed working on Super. It was fun. I'm beating a baby Bren with. Okay.
Wait, what?
I'm whipping a baby Rainn Wilson. Rainn Wilson didn't play a baby. It's a child playing.
It's a flashback.
Flashback, yes. And that was fun because I'm still creepy, and I like creepy. I have a mustache and I have tinted glasses, just like Adele. It's kind of weird. and I'm a religious fanatic, and just playing this creep that I'd never spend any time with. But it's just being on the set with James Gunn, and I'd seen Slither, which is such a great movie.
Yeah.
That's a great body horror movie. I loved it. I loved working on the Purge TV show.
Okay.
I only have one scene, but it was great fun.
Have you done any voice work? Just voice stuff?
I've done some. I really only I'd say 3 roles, besides just additional voices, which is never, you know. I did an episode of Detective O'Brien? That's not it.
Which
Conan? Detective Conan.
Okay.
And played Percy, the killer. I don't know. And I was... what is it called? See? My brain is not working.
The Hellraiser role really took it out of you, man. She's like, oh, I just wiped my brain.
I'm gonna blame Monster Zero, but I know that's not it.
It's a good plug for it. Plug for it.
Huh?
I said it's a good plug for it. It's like, hey, if you guys want to start your day over, just drink this.
Just eat really big French fries and drink Monster Zero. Jiu-jitsu, yoga. I played a leper in something that I can't remember the name of. That's very popular. And if you come to my table, you can look at my picture that I have of my anime characters. And there was another one. It was Amanai from Baki the Grappler.
Okay.
There's one that I remembered the name of. Samurai Warriors. That's what I was trying to think of. Yeah.
Do we have any questions for Paul? Go ahead.
Whenever you do parts like the Hellraiser movie or the one, the Happy to Help, do those ever make you have feel weird whenever you're doing them because they're just such kind of a dark character in a way?
Do I feel weird from playing dark characters?
Yeah.
Not really, because more so in theater, I'd say that happens because you do it again and again and again and again, and that has more of an effect. But when in shooting a movie, I just sort of let it go afterwards. I can live there in it while I'm on the set and just getting into character, as it were, so that I can be the character. But then it's like cut, and it's like, okay, how was that? It was great, whatever. But with theater, it's more so with theater. It's harder to shake, for me, it's harder to shake with theater because The Normal Heart, or at least some plays I've done where it's been hard to escape, or I haven't wanted to leave it. Well, these are some that I wanted to leave behind. Diary of Anne Frank, The Normal Heart, all these lovely plays that are about death and cruelty, and you'd live there for long enough when it's a play, and it's like, oh my God, that was great, but I'm so glad it's over. But that's kind of the opposite of what your question is. I'm answering a different question there. They always say in an audition, answer the question you wanted them to ask you. So that's what that was. But as far as movies go, usually, unless it's just an awful experience and I'm glad it's over, I'm usually just kind of sad that it's over, and it's getting to be more and more that I'm sad that it's over, and that's a good thing. It's a good thing. It means that I'm actually enjoying the work.
It's always fun to enjoy your work. It's always a plus, isn't it? Do we have any other questions?
Yeah.
Anybody? Don't be shy.
How's the difference playing Sin City and
What was it? What?
the difference between
Sin City and Hellraiser, the difference.
Well, the difference between Sin City and Hellraiser is that I was a day player on Sin City. I had one scene, I had no lines, and it was my first movie. So my part basically is I come in and I'm a jerk, for lack of a more descriptive word. It's a family show. And to Marv, who we're about to electrocute, and he just reaches out. I'm a DA, so I'm a lawyer. I'm an a-hole, I'll say. So then he just reaches out and he breaks my arm in 3 places, and then I grab my arm and I'm dragged off by a cop, and that's the whole thing. So I'm being abused. So a lot of directors like to look at me and go, "You're a guy I'd like to beat up." So this is what we're gonna. I played a lot of roles where I just instantly get killed or maimed. It's like I don't want to play those anymore. Okay, can I be more important than that? I'd like to be more important than that, or more meaningful.
And then in Hellraiser, you're the one that kills him, and it just comes full circle.
The
like
tables were turned,
Yeah, exactly.
and now it's more like we want you to be in our movie where we destroy you, because then we will have destroyed Pinhead. It's like, yeah, you have problems. You need to get over it.
That's nice. Any other questions? Anybody? Anybody? What's up?
The full makeup process was about 2 hours, give or take. It's funny because the guy was trying to win a contest, not an official contest, like big prizes. It was just this unspoken competition between makeup artists who had applied Pinhead's makeup over the years. It's like, can you beat Gary Tunnicliffe's record? Hit the timer, go, start gluing, la 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 la. But this guy then would like hit the thing and go out for a cigarette break, and I'd be like, well, it's about quarter done. So he kept stopping, but all in all, his was 2 hours about. Gary's was under an hour, and he would get Doug Bradley from makeup chair to makeup and costume in like less than an hour. He was incredible. But fortunately, he was on the set directing the movie, so he'd come in after it was all applied and do airbrushing and little finishing touches. You know, pull off a pin and re-glue it so it's straight. And yeah, I just was like, hurry all you want to, just don't make it look like I'm a victim of something, you know, just make sure the pins are straight. The lines are, you know. But yeah, and I enjoyed the whole thing because it was just, I was being made into this classic Hollywood monster.
How many times would you say you donned the Pinhead makeup? Like how many times on set did they have to apply it? Like
Just 3.
Just 3 times?
Just 3 days.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, I only did one Hellraiser movie. I don't know how many people know that, but I did one.
Yeah.
I did one. And I had 3 days on the set.
Wow.
And all that makeup, you know, they use the solution, they peel it all off, and then it goes away and they auction it off at the prop store in Hollywood to the highest bidder, along with all the props and costumes.
Nice.
It's pretty crazy.
Did you ever get to keep anything from the set?
I have like 6 or 7 pins.
Oh, okay.
That Gary actually put onto a piece of art that he sent me later.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it was very nice. Framed. He does great work. His Instagram, if you want to follow him, is Hollywood Assassin.
Oh.
And he does some really fascinating work. And if you're a fan of Hellraiser, you know, he's constantly doing sculptures and creating other things, along with Mike Reagan, who is his buddy and played the Chatterer in a few of the Hellraiser movies. He does really bizarre, like, monster mugs and stuff.
That's cool.
Fun stuff.
Any other questions, anybody? Don't be shy. Ask anything you want to Mr. Paul T. Taylor. Anyone?
Well, I'd like to ask a question. Where did you get that fabulous sculpture that you're sitting next to? Well, this was made by Wendell, who is right over here. Wait, is there
Wendell.
See all the props over here?
Wendell.
See all the props that Wendell made? He's right here. He's the guy who made this. He's incredible.
Yes.
And you should look him up online, and if I had his card right now, I'd tell you where to go. I wouldn't tell you where to go.
Black Wolf Armory, right? Black Wolf Armory?
Yes, what?
Black Wolf Armory?
Black Wolf Armor.
Yes.
I love this
Wendell
thing. I
is
think it's so cool.
He's a bit psychotic, but once you get past that, he's a pretty nice guy.
And his daughter is doing okay. Right?
Yeah, right. His daughter's due
in labor
sometime this
or
weekend,
close to being in labor. So we're hoping for the best.
Anytime now.
Yeah.
And Paul's actually going to deliver the child, so we can't wait to that. That's the first thing she's going to see.
I was on a lot of medication. I don't remember doing that.
So, what are your hopes? I mean, personally, I would like to see the Hellraiser franchise continue. What would you, in an ideal world, would you like to play Pinhead again? Would you?
In an ideal world, I would I would play Pinhead again. In a perfect world, I would be doing a sequel to Judgment, where I would start out as a homeless person trying to claw his way back to that position. In a perfect world, I would be they'd be doing a movie of the Scarlet Gospels, which is the novel that Clive Barker wrote, which is basically him trying to kill off Pinhead, where he goes through all these levels of hell trying to get to Satan so that he can finally be destroyed as a demon because he wants to be at peace. And Doug Bradley would star as that, and I would play yet another a different demon. I don't know. Something like that would be pretty damn perfect. But I think that the first thing I'd want to do is a sequel to Judgment. I think it was set up beautifully for a sequel, and there are so many interesting directions it could go. But with the demise of Dimension Films, kind of went the demise of, or not the demise possibly, but it lessened the chances of a Judgment sequel ever happening. So we'll see. You know, time will tell.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we can get another one. I mean, I've always been a huge fan. Has anybody ever? Who has not seen Hellraiser? Raise your hand. Anybody? You have not seen it? Any of them? I'm talking about any of them. You haven't seen any of them? Go try to rent at least the first two. The first two are great.
They really are.
Doug Bradley is he does a phenomenal job. It's a different type of horror. It's not the traditional slasher, gory film. It's got a lot of depth. It's written by Clive Barker.
It's pretty cerebral.
A horror genius.
Yeah.
And then there's what, like 9 of them? 9 Hellraisers?
There are 10
now.
plus the Hulu movie.
Yeah.
So there's kind of 11.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Correct, yeah.
And we all know that with more sequels comes the chances of more crap.
Spin-offs.
Yeah. So,
but
Judgment is great.
Yeah.
Judgment's great.
Yeah, Judgment was great. I watched I remember when we were doing research on him, I'd seen a couple clips on YouTube, and he did his own take on the character, which was phenomenal. It's a very gory movie. A lot of special effects.
A lot of spit. There's a lot of spit and vomit. So that's fun.
But any questions before we dismiss the panel? Anybody? What's up, man?
Yes, Mombirella wanted to know: are you? Have you ever felt like you're now being typecasted?
No, not at all. Because Pinhead for me was so out of character with what I usually play. I'm still playing creepy people, but I always played creepy people. Maybe I'm creepy. I guess I am. I don't think I am. I've always played strange people. I've always been kind of a strange person. So what it did though was it attracted more people to the possibility of using me in their movies. You know, it elevated my, I hate the word fame. That's not the right word. My status as an actor, and it made more people aware of me. So I think for that reason, that is the reason my film career is kind of growing and getting better and better. And I'm living, they say, you know, living the dream is a cliche, but I feel like I really am, because I'm at peace with the amount of work I'm getting. I'd always like to get more, but the fact that I get these calls from people who I've worked with before, and they say, I have this role for you. I'm going to send you the script. Will you do it? What's your rate? And we work it out, and I'm then on a film set, and it's just these low-budget indies, and I'm so happy that I'm doing it. It doesn't matter if they're big money. I don't care. My dad told me as a kid that there was no way I could ever be a movie star or a film actor. It's not a positive thing to tell a kid who wants to be a movie star, but and I don't condone that. But it's so nice to learn as an adult that anyone can be an actor, because there are character roles, you know, and that's what I do. And so yeah, I'm of an age too where I'm like, I can be lazy when I want to be lazy, and I can work really hard when I want to work really hard. And I get to do conventions and meet groovy people who I would have never met without having played Pinhead. So it really has changed my life and taken me places that I would never have gone otherwise. And I feel really, really lucky for that.
Very nice. Any final questions before we finish this panel? Anybody? What's up, man?
What was your initial feeling when you got the full makeup and you saw yourself?
When I first saw myself in the makeup, I mean, I don't see very well. So I couldn't see myself when they were applying it, which was kind of a good thing. So when they finally got in the black sclera well, first I didn't have the contacts in. I had everything on except the black sclera contacts. Got to go back to the trailer. And then I got to get up close. But even in the trailer, the lighting was bad. But I was just looking at this going, oh my God, this is so cool. And it took me back to my childhood. I was like, this is the best Halloween costume ever. And it looked so real. And then they put the contacts in and the costume. And then, as I said, walking through those double doors, hearing the crew members go, whoa. Because I think they were relieved. It's like, oh, good. He's Pinhead. Because we could have gotten somebody who is not going to pull it off. But just looking at me, they were like, yep, okay. And it was the best. It was the best.
It was like one of those like reveal shows where you're like the ugly duckling, like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, and when it's a reality show,
Yeah,
it's like, really?
We should
you
do
didn't
that.
see yourself before this moment? Really? You didn't see that? I guess not.
We should do a reality show where we
TV.
transform normal people into horror characters,
Yeah.
and then just put them on the street and just introduce themselves to people.
Yeah.
So-
TV doesn't lie.
Exactly. All right, guys. Well, we're gonna end the panel. Let's give a hand to Mr. Paul T. Taylor. He will be at his booth signing.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.